Tonight, the same organization that fought and won the landmark Supreme Court decision desegregating schools in the United States is now taking aim at Cleveland's water department. It's a result of our ongoing 5 on Your Side investigation, Drowning in Dysfunction.
New report's findings could change how Cleveland Water does business and how it treats its customers, not only here in Cleveland, but in 70 surrounding communities as well. Chief Investigator Ron Regan joins us. Ron, the nation's most powerful civil rights organization is about to release findings that you uncovered in your investigation.
Well, this is the report prepared by the NAACP Legal Defense Fund that will be publicly released tomorrow. A report that confirms critical failures we first uncovered.
Outrageous water bills, poor customer service, thousands of complaints going unheard.
It was our investigative report, Drowning in Dysfunction, 3 years ago, that first broke wide open critical failures.
How many of you have been overbilled by the Cleveland Water Department? Show of hands. Every one of you.
And now the NAACP Legal Defense Fund is taking notice. In its report, it found water tax liens on homes are in a majority of black neighborhoods, like this 85-year-old water customer, disabled and wheelchair-bound, threatened with a $10,000 water bill that became a tax lien on her home.
If I have to pay all that, it will be long, I'll be gone. I don't think I'd live that long.
The NAACP also found water tax liens cause a devastating loss of home ownership.
It just got my blood boiling because, I lost my home because of them.
The report also found Water Review Board hearings are rarely held.
We represent the Water Review Board.
And customers had no idea they could contest unfair bills until we informed them.
And I thank Ron because I didn't even know you guys existed.
As a result, the NAACP is now calling for sweeping reforms, including banning water lien sales based on unpaid bills, barring water termination for unpaid water and sewer bills, and requiring assistance programs for low-income and vulnerable customers. Recommendations that would transform how Cleveland Water does business, according to what a former top insider told us.
It's a callous system, and the most callous people that I know are running the system.
How high up did that go?
To the director.
And department heads.
And department heads.
And the report blames practices routinely used by the Cleveland Water Department disproportionately impact people of color and are impeding access to affordable drinking water.
Our 5 on Your Side investigative team has been uncovering deep systemic problems with Cleveland Water for years.
And now has sparked a federal class action lawsuit. We've got team coverage from the 5 on Your Side investigators tonight, and we're going to start with Chief Investigator Ron Regan.
Okay, well, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund is the group right now that is taking up this cause and going into federal court. It is the same group that helped to integrate schools across the nation, and it was our investigation that helped spark the lawsuit.
Well, all of a sudden I just started getting great big bills, and they threatened to turn the water off.
Great big bills, nearly $3,000 worth. For water, 81-year-old Odessa Parks insists she never used. Plumbers never found a leak.
But I was constantly going, trying to get some of the satisfaction because I wasn't getting any satisfaction. And I know, you wasn't using that type of water.
You weren't trying to cheat anyone.
No.
Instead, the Cleveland Water Department turned her bill into a tax lien on her home, placing it into a high risk of foreclosure.
How did they treat you?
Well, it wasn't so good, You go, and you talk to people and they just say, well, there's nothing I can do, you just have to pay it.
We first told you about Odessa 3 years ago. Since then, living only on Social Security, she's now paying almost $100 a month on top of her normal water bill. And she's among the plaintiffs in this class action lawsuit, brought by the NAACP Legal Defense Fund.
How have the policies and practices of the Cleveland Water Department impacted neighborhoods?
There's been a significant impact on neighborhoods throughout Cleveland and Cuyahoga County as a result of Cleveland Water's practices, disproportionately on the Black communities there. One of the things that we allege in our lawsuit is that Cleveland Water placed 11,000 water liens on homes between 2014 and 2018. These are disproportionately located in Black neighborhoods.
Cody Montag is the Legal Defense Fund's senior attorney.
How will this lawsuit potentially benefit customers?
One is to change Cleveland Water's practices. We want to end the water lien policy so that Cleveland will no longer place liens on homes for unpaid water debt.
The lawsuit alleges Cleveland Water violated federal fair housing laws, due process, and equal protection under the 14th Amendment and Ohio's Civil Rights Act.
The lawsuit alleges that the water department's billing practices and policies are discriminatory. In what ways?
These practices can result in foreclosure and eviction. So there's a connection here between the water liens and housing.
It make it feel like people just mistreating you, misusing you because you don't have anybody.
And she remembers one day when Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson posed for a photo on her 50th wedding anniversary.
He was walking one day and campaigning, and he stopped by, and I said, you know, I have your picture, and he came in and looked at it, you know.
What's he doing for you now?
Nothing.
Now she's hoping this class action lawsuit will help thousands of others who have been treated just like her.
If it'll help someone else, that'll be a good thing.
And this lawsuit calls for a permanent injunction prohibiting Cleveland Water from discrimination, including tax liens and unfair billing practices. Plus, water customers could be compensated for those bills that could cost the city millions of dollars.
Now, one man in this case has been battling with the water department for 6 years. His story is a first of its kind in our Drowning in Dysfunction series.
5 on Your Side investigator Jonathan Walsh continues our coverage.
You might as well drop Albert Pickett into a third world country because that's how he was living. But he wasn't overseas somewhere. He is right here in our own backyard. And he blames Cleveland Water.
You never know this feeling until it happens to you.
No one wants to feel like Albert Pickett.
And to look at it right here.
He just lost his childhood home.
It's devastating.
To know Albert's story, you have to go back to 2010. His mom passed away, leaving him this home in East Cleveland, and unpaid water bills, too, a total of $3,000. In 2013, Cleveland Water cut off Albert's water supply.
I said, well, how much can I pay and then just have my water turned back on? Well, you have to pay the whole thing.
He couldn't do that. He tried to set up a payment plan. He says he was denied.
They had no concern about my life or my welfare or anything.
There was no water in Albert's home for 6 years.
I would have to go to neighbors, borrow water.
I'm glad I was there to help.
Barbara Surratt shared her water with Albert.
It was heartbreaking, you know, to the point where I had to cry sometimes without letting him know that I was crying.
He bought water from the store. He filled his toilet with a bucket. He washed up the same way.
I would take a bucket of water and pour it over myself and bathe, and then take another bucket of water and rinse myself with it.
In the meantime, Albert says his sister took out a personal loan and paid nearly $11,000 on the past bills and property taxes. But Cleveland Water said Albert still owed $2,700 in water debt, even though the water had been shut off since 2013.
They know what they're doing, and they have no sympathy for the lower class people.
He says that's one reason he joined the lawsuit filed by the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the way Cleveland Water has treated his community.
they attack the blacks in these neighborhoods.
Albert tells us he didn't want to be in this situation, being part of a lawsuit, but
every time I try to have a door open, it slams right back in my face.
Now, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund has opened a new door, offering to help Albert and others.
I feel very, very hopeful.
That's a very different feeling than what happened on October 21st.
How can I help you? My neighbor's house is on fire.
When Albert came home that day, he says his door was wide open. 2 people ran out, and when he walked inside,
it was flames on my couch and on the carpet.
It wasn't out of control at that time.
If I would have had water in the home, I could have doused the fire because it was just in the living room.
But by the time he walked to a neighbor's house and called for help,
So you see fire coming out of the house?
Yes, a lot of fire.
and the fire department came,
That's my house.
those flames had spread.
It hurts so bad. The impact is a trauma.
Albert tells us with an African-American mayor, Frank Jackson, and an African-American director of public utilities, Robert Davis, who oversee the water department, all of this stings even more.
Being African American, they should know about the downfalls, but you all keeping your foot down on people like me, and you're offering no help. I feel that it's a disgrace to humanity.
I'm Mayor Jackson, sitting here with you right now. What do you say to me?
You have the power to correct all the mishaps, and you're just letting us fall down deeper and deeper and deeper.
We've reached out to the city of Cleveland, and even though we sent a copy of the lawsuit to them, the city's response was that it hasn't been formally served, so the city cannot comment at this time. Cleveland Water says it's reviewing the complaint, and it typically does not comment on an ongoing lawsuit. I'm 5 on Your Side investigator Jonathan Walsh.
Tonight, we are hearing from yet another person facing a huge water bill, and this time because of a mysterious leak.
5 on Your Side investigator Jonathan Walsh has been reporting on Cleveland Water for years now in a series we call Drowning in Dysfunction.
Took me right off of my feet. I could not believe it.
82-year-old Josephine Smiley from Cleveland's East Side has been waterlogged with confusion.
Are you getting any answers from Cleveland Water?
No. They talk to me like I'm crazy.
Her sister, Michelle Mahan, says Cleveland Water claims Josephine's home, where she lives alone, used
enough water to fill a hotel in her basement.
Cleveland Water tells us its meter records show there was a spike in usage for about 10 days in January of 2018.
The problem with that is the basement is still dry, and that huge furnace that's running that place is still dry.
They just tell you some crazy stuff, and that's it. And you're supposed to accept that. No.
There's that word crazy once again. It's a word that's tossed into the discussion a lot when we're talking about Cleveland water bills. In fact, it would come up once more as we dug into this case after the women hired their own plumber to look at the basement.
He walked around the house looking for soft water spots or something breaking in the ground.
Couldn't find them.
Nothing.
In fact, even in the plumber's report, he wrote,
no damage to the water heater or furnace despite the crazy claim of water usage.
Yes.
Even says the crazy claim.
Mm-hmm.
What's also crazy, during our series, Drowning in Dysfunction, we've reported on many of these kinds of unanswered spikes. Leaks that miraculously fix themselves, say homeowners, because somehow the meter readings go back to normal all on their own.
Like I tell them, I'm old, but I ain't stupid.
Because the water and sewer bills are tied together, Josephine's refusing to pay a sewer balance of around $700. There have been threats by the city that it will shut off Josephine's water.
Why are you harassing this lady? What is this about?
2 water reps came out to Josephine's home in May of 2018.
And they checked the meter and they said, there's nothing wrong with the meter and we don't see where a flood happened.
Their own people said that?
Their own people said that.
Cleveland Water maintains that its records indicate proof of the water usage.
I think it's wrong that you do somebody like this, and especially a lady that's 82 years old.
A lady who up until last year worked as a certified nursing assistant at Metro.
I've always been blessed helping somebody.
A lady who is now ill.
She's my big sister, so now it's time for me to reach out and help her.
And a lady who demands explanations.
But you will not run over me, because I don't deserve that.
I'm 5 on your side investigator Jonathan Walsh.